two niggas spoiling movies. Yeah. Brandon Collins,
That's me.
and Justin Brown for your movie needs. Medium popcorn.
Woo!
You haven't seen it, well, we're gonna spoil it.
Spoil it in your face.
That's your warning. So if you get pissed, it's all your fault. Woo-hoo. Woo-hoo.
What is up, little bitches and Soja Tomatoes? It's your boy Eddie Collins,
Guys, this is Justin Brown.
and we are Medium Popcorn Niggas spoiling the movies. And we're not gonna fully spoil this movie because it's based off a historical event
Mm-hmm.
and a historical person that had a huge impact on Black history. So
That you may not even know about.
that you may not even know about. We talked
I
about
didn't
him on
know
Drunk
about.
Black History. So I knew a little bit about his biography. But Rustin, the American biographical drama that's directed by George C. Wolfe, who also did such plays as Angels in America and Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk on Broadway. He did Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Man, and it stars Colman Domingo in the titular role. This was fucking amazing. Shout out to the New Fest for having media popcorn at the premiere night for the screening. That was a lot of fun. This movie surprised the hell out of me. I heard good things from Toronto International Film Festival about his performance, but I mean, from scene one, he jumps off the screen.
Yes.
Like Colman
very
Domingo,
much so.
he made Bayard unapologetically authentic in himself and said, I know I'm loud. I know I'm very flamboyant. I know that I can be a difficult person, but I get shit done that I'm passionate about.
Yep.
And for those of you who don't know, folks, Bayard Rustin was a civil rights activist who essentially the walk on Washington the March on Washington doesn't happen without him.
Yes. Now we're talking about the March on Washington, Martin Luther King, the whole I Had a Dream speech at the monument and everything. Like he was a close friend and confidant to Dr. Martin Luther King. And but because of his sexuality, he was kind of pushed into the background and basically in some ways almost kind of deleted from history. So this is like one of the big movers and shakers of the civil rights movement, which is a travesty that I've never even heard of. And like, yeah, you don't hear, you don't know everybody, but like this is somebody who was so important to the entire movement. And like, I'm just like, wait, how the fuck did I never hear about this guy? Mind you, talking to my mom about this movie, and she was just like, I don't know who that is. So that just shows, and she was in that time frame. She had no idea who this person was. Because the NAACP, Adam Clayton Powell, and
played by Jeffrey Wright in a fantastic role.
People did not want to. They did not fuck with him because of his sexuality.
And so, Roy Wilkins, who's played by Chris Rock, which surprised the hell out of me seeing Chris Rock pop up. He's fine. Chris Rock can't change who Chris Rock is. Yes. That's all I'll say. You cannot look at Chris Rock and not think that's Chris Rock.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. Whereas Colman Domingo, he did like some type of prosthetic to get the oral injury that Bayard Rustin had suffered on at the hands of a white cop. Like things like that you're just like, okay, like they did the work. Yeah. And they have the ability to transform themselves. Not saying that Chris Rock can't do that at some point, but he hasn't gotten there yet as an actor.
Yeah.
That's not to say that he brings the film down anyway. In fact, I think the actors are very well served by the script, written by Julian Brees and Dustin Lance Black. I believe Dustin Lance Black probably helps, fill in some stuff. He won the screenplay Academy Award, I believe, for Milk. But from my understanding is Julian Brees had already written the draft of the script that helped get it greenlit and everything. Also Glenn Turman, man, that solid fucking actor. I know we went kind of crazy on him about JD's Revenge, but between Fargo, this, and Ma Rainey's Black Bombers, he's done a lot of really impactful things.
Yeah. Oh no,
late
no,
in his
no.
career, he's
Listen,
fucking been killing.
Just JD's Revenge is fucking nuts. And it is what it is, but that doesn't say that his filmography is trash.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's also a black exploitation film. So, how great is it going to be?
Also, I just want to shout out Audra McDonald, who played Ella Baker, because she always looks so delicious. Always looks great. Now, here's the wild thing about this movie is that it's produced by Barack and Michelle Obama's production company, Higher Ground Productions. And if there is a just God in this world, and sometimes I question whether or not there is, I believe in what I've seen thus far, and we're about to be in November, if awards season stays on track with its typical schedule, this should be a Best Picture nominee, which would make the Obamas Oscar nominees, which would be amazing, but also so hilarious to all the fucking people that hate them, who still want to be in the Hollywood elite circles, despite saying that they don't want to.
So here's the thing. Yeah. If that happened, and I know we spoke about this in the movie theater, we were just like, you think Trump's gonna go and make a movie just to try to throw himself in there?
Yeah.
He'll try to do something Barack can do.
Gary Busey would be like, I'll star in it. I'll have a comeback. Let's get Quentin Tarantino to write it. But this is like Bayard Rustin, he did a lot of the logistical work with the volunteers and people that he had supporting him and organizing this. And he and Martin Luther King were on the outs for a long time.
Yeah.
Because Martin didn't publicly defended him in like early in their relatively early in their career after the bus boycott organization, right?
Yeah. So they were going to make a walk on the Democratic National Convention where Kennedy was speaking at, I believe. And basically the NAACP and Adam Clayton Powell didn't want it to happen. So they basically were starting to spread a rumor that Martin Luther King and Bayard Rustin were in a relationship. And obviously, again, this is the 60s. Martin Luther King is a man of the church, and that wouldn't be a good look. And Bayard was like, he's going to take up for me because, like, listen, like, we go back and, like, we good. And he's like, I know Dr. King. And he did not do that. He basically played the role. So he saved himself. And Bayard, I guess he didn't forgive him for a long time for that, which understandable.
Absolutely.
Because it's like, you hope that your people have your back, especially when you're in a marginalized group like that. And, especially now we're talking about the 60s. So and I could see why he would be so hurt by the fact is that so you just gonna let them do this to me. Yeah. Because they kicked him out of NAACP technically.
Absolutely. And then when they do reconcile, when like Bayard's like, I want to organize this march. Initially he wanted it to be 2 days, but logistics and just the pushback from everybody, like they ended up consolidating into one. And when he convinces Martin Luther King to join it, because that's going to help get the NAACP in line. That was like, those actors had great chemistry. And shout out to Emil Amin, who played Martin Luther King in this. I think he did a really great job. He and Colman Domingo had fantastic chemistry. I completely believe that they were incredibly intelligent men who enjoyed each other's company, just like in thoughtful conversation. Like, and Bayard's a character. If he's anything like the way Colman portrayed him, which I'm guessing he was, he seems like he'd be a lot of fun, but also completely out of his fucking mind. I mean, don't they have a quote where they were like, they kind of talk about, like, Martin Luther King alludes that, like, I was told you were crazy or something like that. But like, they never told me how much. And like, it seemed like he's just always been intrigued by that, because it's hard to be unapologetically you. And like, yes, Bayard isn't openly saying like, I'm a gay man, but if you pay close enough attention, you're like, okay, he's hooking up with this guy who stays at his apartment as his roommate, quote unquote. Things like that. And so when at the end, when he acknowledges Bayard Rustin, when Bayard's outed, by the government, basically, who were trying to stop this march from happening, and he defends him, he defends his character, and Colman as Bayard Rustin breaks down crying and so appreciative. And you see all the volunteers so happy that he's been acknowledged for his contributions. Man, that was such a powerful moment.
And mind you, he was technically he wasn't out.
Yes,
everyone knew, but he wasn't out, and
he
so
wasn't
even
just outed as a gay man; he was out as a pervert.
Yes, because
for illicit actions and stuff.
Because he was basically hooking up, well,
with like two white guys.
Yeah, right? With two guys, and then the police, of course, they beat him up. So like, yeah, it was a bigger deal thing. So they were talking on radio that he was some sort of pervert, in doing indecent things in a public space. So like, people knew that, the people who worked around his closest workers, they knew that there was stuff going on with him, but like it was never addressed. It was just a kind of a thing that everybody was just like pushing under the rug because nobody wanted to kind of confront this thing. And then it's basically put out there in Front Street, and then you have one of the most powerful people in the world being this like, this is our guy, and it's just like none of this can be done without him, and it's like I'm standing by him. Like, yeah, like if if that were me, I would be in fucking shambles. Because like that's huge.
And this is after everything he's gone through. The march hasn't happened yet at this point in the movie, but they've gone through a lot. They've gone through a lot of back and forth, fighting the heads of the NAACP for every fucking little detail, being dismissed by the police force in Washington, D.C. as they're trying to figure out logistics for the march. People doubting the numbers that they're going to get because they're saying they can get 100,000 people out. They end up getting over 200,000, I believe. And just it. And what's so wild is like, you don't, and this isn't about Martin Luther King, but you don't get him preparing for this legendary speech, which is interesting, right? Because, Selma, you have him like struggling with being this huge political figure, an impactful figure, and the weight that comes with that. And this, you saw the quiet activist that made all that stuff happen for him. I mean, for me, like the ending, man, was so real because that's the kind of leader I aspire to be, which is he starts picking up the trash from the march.
Yeah.
He just he joins the workers, the volunteers, and just like because like you alluded before, he's not accepted into the higher ranking bold, the power makers. So like the NAACP, like Roy Wilkins and MLK, they're like, hey, we're going to the White House to have a meeting because of this march. Like,
and they said, hey, we think that you should be there with us. He just said, no, I said that I was going to be out here helping. And he's just like, and that's what I'm going to do. He's like, I'm on the front lines. And I'm out here with everybody else, with everybody else who made this thing happen.
And that's what I love. Yeah. And the volunteers, like, they see him doing that and they have like a look of appreciation and pride on their face. And I was like, that's the kind of stuff, like the quieter folks that also inspired other people. To be activists and to do the work, because you see, like, hey, I'm not looking for accolades. I did a good job. I'm gonna clean up, and I'm gonna keep thinking about what's the next thing we can do. And for me, that maybe, and we talked about this after the screening, it made me appreciate just society is fucked up. There's a lot of bad things happening right now, a lot of bad things, but at the same time, I am incredibly fortunate and thankful for all the battles that the people before us had to do to get us to have these freedoms and these abilities right now.
Yeah.
Because you and I would be in completely different places if this shit had continued. Like if they hadn't been able to influence politicians to do the right thing with civil rights. We would not be in the place. We would not be homeowners.
Oh, no. Definitely not in New York.
we would not be confident that we like, especially for you, like you can raise your sons in like a good community in a place that has strong
I wouldn't be able to live here We probably wouldn't be as educated as we are. You know, possibly one of us may not be alive right now. You know, there's a lot of things that you really have to take in the stock when you think about. It's just like how much stuff that these guys did, which affected every single person that came after them.
And this is after, I mean, you want to talk about like how Black folks felt with George Floyd. I mean, imagine on TV, and remind you, you've only had technology of television for like maybe a few years, and you're seeing people that look like you and children being blasted with fire hoses, by white cops, and you're just like, you know, that breaks somebody. That can break someone mentally.
Man, when all the George Floyd shit was going on and whatever, I remember sitting up at night and just watching the news by myself. And just being so fucking, I'm just like, okay, I can't watch this shit. Have to turn it off. It was just like just being angry. But imagine that, and then you have to walk down the street, and then like the people who are actively out there doing that shit then see you there, and they're just looking at you, just like, yeah, motherfucker, we did that. Like that's and they're open about it. Like we at least have the luxury of people just like, you know, biting their tongues because it's like, we shouldn't do that. Even though that shit's changing, but still.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons I used to love Astoria, Queens, man. You know me, I was an Astoria dude. I was like, I never like thought about homeowning because I'm like, I can't buy a home in Astoria and I want to stay in Astoria. But dude, after 2020, I mean, we talked about it, like, you know, that whole vibe that changed real quick. Like right after the George Floyd stuff and we were in a pandemic, like white neighbors started acting real weird. Real weird.
All that Midwesterners started to come out of them real fast.
Well, it was also like, you know, and this is where like it got real problematic because for folks who you don't know, where Justin and I were in Astoria, there's a long street called Steinway Street. And around July, I guess Black folks were just tired of being cooped up inside, and there's a lot of hookah lounges on Steinway Street. I'm not sure that that's where they were going,
niggas love,
but there's a huge, like, I'm talking, like, it seemed like thousands of people on Steinway Street.
It's like
all
Million Man March
and Black people, and people in the story had a lot to say about that. As you can imagine, there's a lot of colorful, really fucked up language used on social media platforms and community groups I was part of and stuff. And that's for me. I was like, oh, this ain't my place. This ain't my community. This ain't my place anymore. I don't feel safe here. I never had that worry. I've never had that worry anywhere I've gone in New York.
Bro, I remember, like, you know, leaving your house because, you know, we lived, you know, like 3 blocks away from each other. I remember leaving your house after recording one time and walking back to my house, and a guy pulled up at a stop sign and like eyeballing me like, nigga, you don't belong here. And I kind of looked at him and was just like, motherfucker. It's like, you know, but like and you know what it is. And you know what it is. I'm just like, and I'm pretty sure you haven't been here. You haven't been even in New York longer than I have. Like, who the fuck are you? But like, that was the vibe. It's like completely like ruined everything.
Yeah, that's why I haven't been back. I've been back to Astoria one time since I've been back in New York. And that was my home, man. I sometimes I'd be like, I don't need to go to Manhattan except to see a movie.
Yeah, it's true.
But niggas coming to me. This bar's out here. Like, I don't need to go. But folks, I mean, Rustin's going to be on Netflix on November 17th. It's coming out a little bit earlier than that. It's also going to be released in select theaters. I mean, just for a performance alone, I don't know. I know I've heard good things as this recording about Leonardo DiCaprio and Killers of the Fly Moon. We've seen Oppenheimer. This is far and away like leaps and bounds beyond Cillian Murphy. This is a louder performance, but even then, it's just the emotional payoff of Bayard's arc in this movie. I think is way more effective than Oppenheimer. We never get the real deep dive into what makes Oppenheimer tick, whereas in this we do. We see Bayard's triggers. We see Bayard fall in love with a man that can't display that love, like can't commit to that love back to him because he's married, and he's being like
he's married to a woman,
and who is recently pregnant when they break up, And then also he inherits his father-in-law's church. Yeah. So it's, the complexities of that. And like Bayard realizing that he does struggle with like showing love and that he still has a lot of weight and baggage from his childhood as a Quaker, being raised as a Quaker and fucking
a black Quaker, y'all.
and dealing with like police brutality and all these things. And the fact that he still kept going.
Yeah.
I mean, there's days, man, I don't know, like this past summer was rough, and we've talked about it here and there in the podcast where it was tough, man. It was really tough getting up. It was really tough, like just getting through the day. It's really tough, especially like when I hear, my black male friends like struggling to find jobs and getting let go and like, just in having a hard time emotionally and mentally and things. And seeing this really inspired me. I kind of needed this. I needed it right when we were invited to that premiere. I'm glad that we moved some things around to be able to go see it. Yeah, because it really did help me see a different perspective and bring things into center things a little bit for me.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I think we also watched this in like a really good audience. For this because being part of
they were clubbing after and shit. Shout out to New Fest. They had an after party and everything.
But it just was speak a little bit about New Fest, because we got their whole history when we were there. We didn't necessarily want that time, but it was necessary, I guess. But
there's a lot of history there.
Yeah, New Fest is basically a LGBTQ plus film festival based out of New York, which came about, I believe, in
1988.
In 88. And if you know anything about New York and the scene in the 80s, the gay and trans queer community was not doing very well, and they made this festival to basically give themselves a voice. And it's been going on strong ever since. And it was a really great room to watch this film. Like there were points where, people around us, they were clapping and, because like they were feeling the, parts of the film far more than we could even understand. But even also, so, like I understood that shit.
And also, just as black people, there were some bars that Bayard gave that were like, shut this shit down. Like, where you're like, yep. And the fact, I mean, if any of those quotes are remotely true, the fact that he was still able to live after some of the shit he said to shut niggas down.
Now, mind you,
kudos.
This gentleman lived to, I believe, 1987 or something like that. He was 75 years old when he died. So like he passed away peacefully. Right. Yeah. This guy is like, not many people from that era. Like he met Medgar Evers and Medgar Edgar, right? Yeah. I don't know why I can't. It's just not working in my head right now. And it's just like, and shortly after, he wasn't here anymore. A lot of those guys went away, especially somebody as influential and as powerful as him. It's like I'm surprised, especially being the fact that he was, a very much despised gay black man, in the era of civil rights and everything that went on in that era, that he actually made it all the way through.
Yeah. And again, he's brought to life by Colman Domingo, who does a phenomenal job. If he wasn't already on the radar of a lot of people, which he's been working consistently, so I think he is, he definitely will be after people see this performance. And I think what I love about Colman is that he's got diversity in his filmography and in the way he performs. I really like, between Zola, Candyman, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and this, and then Euphoria, like my man is working. He's also incredibly nice. I met him at a screening of one of his short films that he that actually I think qualified for an Academy Award, or maybe he might have missed the mark. But I met him at one of the screenings, and he's incredibly nice. Good looking dude. He and his husband were very, very nice people. But that doesn't color this review. It's just to add that he also is a genuinely nice person.
Yes, I mean that was good to hear.
Yeah. Some of these people, But folks, we definitely recommend you see this movie. Now we are going to give our rating on it, but again, this is something I usually don't do this until after we've rated the movie, but I implore you, if you've not heard of Bayard Rustin, you need to watch this movie. If you had, you should still watch it so you can see how effectively his story is told in this time period, and so you can tell other people to watch this fucking movie, because people need to see this, and we need to make sure this gets the eyeballs on Netflix so they know they have to keep making movies like this.
Yeah.
But having said that, Justin, break down our rate system, baby.
So, guys, first of all, stop calling me baby. But guys, we rate movies back to popcorn, small,
Even
medium,
in the name
large.
of freedom, you won't let me call you baby.
Nope. We rate movies back to popcorn, small, medium, large, and the XL40 exceptional. If a film doesn't deserve any popcorn, we throw it into the dog shit pile. We pile piles and piles of dog shit on top of it. So, Brandon, we watched the 2023 film Rustin, which was produced by the Obamas, starring Colman Domingo, Chris Rock, Glenn Thurman, and a bunch of other, great actors. Jeffrey Wright in there as well. What say you, sir?
Yeah, this gets a large. It there's a few editing choices, and the Lenny Kravitz song at the end, they were a bit like, I was like, I don't know if I would have done that. But Colman Domingo, he lifts this movie up. He takes great care of Bayard Rustin's legacy, his character. And George C. Wolfe got some fantastic performances out of everyone around Colman Domingo. Like, he's a force to be reckoned with, but everyone compliments him, even Chris Rock. I know I said like Chris Rock is Chris Rock, but he still does really solid. The dialogue is fucking fantastic, which allows you to use Chris Rock's snappiness. It's almost like an Aaron Sorkin movie, some of the snappy dialogue. And that helps you kind of get over the Chris Rockness, because it's like the urgency that makes it work. This is a large. This is really damn near perfect for this year.
Love it.
Justin, what about you?
So I'm gonna give this an XL. I'm giving it an XL. I think that I thought that it was extremely, extremely powerful film. I thought that, he nailed Rustin down to like obviously I didn't know much about Rustin, but he was somebody else. Like, I felt like I didn't know this person, but I felt that was him. You know what I'm saying? Because there was a lot of things that were touched on in this film. I felt that it was done in a very tasteful way. And it was just I was very surprised at what I saw that night. We went and saw this thing. Mind you, I didn't look up the film before going to see this, so I didn't really know what I was stepping into. But I left there and I was in awe. And I remember someone, when we were in the line at the little after party thing, like, oh, what did you think about the film? And I was just like, I thought it was fucking phenomenal. It's like, there are certain films that drop, here and there, where you're just like, well, that was what I needed right now. And that's what this film was. It was a film that I needed to see at this moment in this time, especially with some of the things I've been going through and stuff like that. It's just like, people just going out there and doing what they know is right regardless. So yeah, needed to see it. I think that, regardless, and also it's only 106 minutes. And they packed a whole shit,
they gave
a whole lot of shit into that 106 minutes, where it feels like it may be a little bit longer than it actually is. But you kind of don't want it to end. You know what I'm saying?
That's the thing with history, is like, you can just dig deeper into a story, learn more about them and everything, learn more about the march and the other people that contributed to it. There's a lot here, and keep peeling back the layers of history and actually learn what it took to get to that 1963 event where Martin Luther King has that incredible speech that changed the trajectory of history.
Yeah.
It took a long time after that too. That's the thing. It took almost a damn near year after that for shit to be happening with laws, but they made it happen. And so I'm forever grateful for Folks, as always, you can follow me at Frodo_Blackens on Threads and Instagram. You can follow the show at Medium P Podcast and all social media platforms. Be sure to leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast application. We will read it on the show. And Justin, if you want to support the show financially, as well as follow you on social media, what can they do, my brother?
Guys, you can support me. No, you can follow me at J Brown Did It on all the socials. But you can support the show at patreon.com/medium popcorn. We have $2, $5, $10, and $15 packages on there. Our entire backlog goes to Patreon. Bonus episodes, like little mini episodes, much like this, on new movies that you may not even heard of, that we're telling you, hey, you gotta see this. And even just the mini shows, all that's on Patreon. So we offer so much on there, and we just hope that you decide that you want to join in on the party. And again, that's patreon.com/medium popcorn.
That's right. Join the Patreon army. Get a shout out from Aegis, even though I'm trying to fire that nigga because he be too mouthy.
Yeah, well,
Pause.
Okay.
I've been writing the script with this guy from the West Coast, and he says pause a lot.
I think that's actually more of a New York thing.
I know, it's weird, right?
He's like, fuck, you just fucked up my script.
Well, no, but it's really like, I mean, it works for the character or whatever, but it's weird. Yeah. It's actually interesting. It's a mix between East and West Coast. Okay. It's like a very weird pilot. I'll send it to you. I think you might like it. I think you might actually like how much I've grown as a writer, bro.
I mean, I'll read it. If I don't like it, I'm gonna tell you.
He'd be like, I hated this. I just sent it to Aaron Magruder for his eyes. All right, folks. Hope you all enjoyed this mini episode, and we'll talk to y'all next week.
Peace.